This whole idea of humans and AI working together, it's not science fiction anymore. It's happening right now in some really high-stakes fields. But here's the thing. How do we make sure these partnerships, actually work? Let's dive into that.
I mean, just think about your own life. The driver assist in your car? That's AI. The systems helping your doctor spot things on a scan? AI. The way a bank decides on a loan? Yep, AI is in there too. It's already making these huge decisions that affect all of us every single day. This is the world we live in now.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to break down the 3 biggest hurdles we face when trying to get humans and AI to team up effectively. First up, we'll talk about this idea of synergy. Then, we'll get into the psychology of it, how our brains even think about AI. And finally, we'll look at the nuts and bolts of how we actually interact with these systems.
All right, so let's jump into our first section, this concept of the AI as a teammate. On paper, it sounds like a dream team, right? You take a brilliant human expert, pair them with a super powerful AI, and boom, you should have an unbeatable duo. But as it turns out, it's a lot trickier than that.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. You think adding a smart person to a smart AI would make the team even smarter. It feels like 1 + 1 should equal, 3. But what researchers are finding is that's not always the case. In fact, sometimes the team does even worse than if the AI had just been left to do its thing alone. So what on earth is going on here?
To really get a handle on this, let's look at 3 areas where the stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about clinical support for doctors, deciding credit risk for families, and even the driver assist systems in our cars. In these domains, getting the human-AI partnership right isn't just a nice-to-have, it can literally be a matter of life or death. And you'll see how each of our 3 big challenges pops up in all of these real-world situations.
Okay, let's get into that first big challenge, the synergy problem.
So, when is a team actually better than its best player? Think about it in terms of sports. You can have a team full of all-stars, but that doesn't guarantee a championship, right? Well, it's the exact same thing with human-AI teams. The goal isn't just to have 2 great players on the field. The goal is to create something, a team, that's truly greater than the sum of its parts.
And there's a key word for this, complementarity. It's basically the gold standard for any team. All it means is that the human and the AI each bring something unique to the table. They have different strengths, and because of that, they cover each other's weaknesses. They fill in the gaps. That combined effort leads to a better result than either could have gotten on their own. That's the dream scenario.
So if that's the dream, why does it so often fail? Well, it usually boils down to one of 2 reasons. First, sometimes the potential for synergy just isn't there in the first place. Maybe the AI and the human have the exact same blind spots. In that case, the human isn't really adding much. But the second reason, this is where it gets really fascinating. The potential for a great team is there, but we humans mess it up. We make bad calls about when to trust the AI and when to trust ourselves. And that idea, not knowing when to trust the AI, leads us perfectly into our second major challenge. This one is all about what's happening inside our own heads. It's about our mental model of our AI partner.
Yeah, see, this isn't a coding problem. It's a people problem. It's psychology. How well any AI teammate performs ultimately comes down to one thing. How do we, the human users, think about it? How do we understand it? And based on that, how do we decide when to listen to it? Think of it this way. For every tool you use, you have a little instruction manual for it in your head. That's your mental model. When it comes to an AI, that mental manual includes your beliefs about what it's good at, what it's bad at, and your whole strategy for when you're going to follow its lead. Get that mental model right, and you make great decisions. Get it wrong, and, well, things can go south pretty fast.
And this really boils down to 2 different mindsets. On one side, you have something called algorithm aversion. This is a super common trap. You see the AI make just one little mistake, and that's it. You write it off. You stop trusting it, even if it's right 99% of the time. But on the other side, you have the expert mindset, flexible reliance. This is more like a dance. It's about learning to adapt and make a smart call based on the specific situation.
The really good news here is that our mental models aren't set in stone. We're not just stuck with algorithm aversion forever. People can actually learn to get better at this. With the right kind of experience, with good feedback, we can learn to trust the AI in a more calibrated, more appropriate way. But, and this is a huge but, that learning process depends almost entirely on how the AI actually communicates and interacts with us. Which, of course, brings us to our third and final challenge, and this one is maybe the most hands-on of all, designing the right kind of interaction. I mean, think about it.
How should an AI actually talk to us? How does it give us advice in a way that's actually helpful and not, harmful? Does the way it explains itself help us understand, or does it just confuse us and push us to either trust it blindly or just ignore it completely?
It turns out even something as simple as when the AI gives you its advice can change everything. For instance, maybe you have to make up your own mind first and then you see what the AI thinks. That approach can actually help you think more independently and avoid just blindly following the machine. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. It really depends on the job at hand.
Now, the common sense solution here seems obvious, right? Just give the user more information, more data, more detailed explanations, transparency. But here's the twist. That can backfire, big time. It's called cognitive overload. You just dump a massive list of technical reasons on someone and their brain just shuts down. They end up making worse decisions, not better ones.
So if a data dump is bad, what's a better way? Well, imagine this. Instead of giving a radiologist a complicated list of 50 different pixel-level features, what if the AI just said, hey, I think this might be a problem, and here are 3 other scans from past patients with confirmed cases that I think look really similar to this one. See, that's way more intuitive. It leverages the doctor's own expertise. It's a conversation, not a lecture.
And this all leads to a really powerful idea, captured in this quote from way back in 2004. But man, is it relevant today. The goal isn't just to make people trust the AI more. That's not it at all. The goal is to design systems that help people develop appropriate trust. So you trust it when it's right and you question it when you should. It's about calibration, not blind faith.
Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. After looking at all these challenges, what's the game plan? How do we actually go about building better human-AI teams?
Well, the path forward really means taking on each of these 3 challenges directly. For Synergy, we need to stop training AIs just to be accurate and start training them to actually complement what humans are good at. For our mental models, we need systems that are designed to teach us. And for interaction, we have to get away from these static data dumps and move toward real, interactive conversations with our AI teammates.
And that really leaves us with one big question to think about as we move forward. Are we just designing better tools, or are we actually building better teammates? That small change in how we frame the problem, it changes everything. Because when you start thinking about a teammate, you're suddenly thinking about communication, about trust, about shared goals. And that is exactly where our heads need to be.
By the way, everything we've talked about today comes from the research in this fantastic paper. So if you're curious and you want to go even deeper on this stuff, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a great read.